Hi everyone, welcome back to N in the Labs. This is our second episode, and in this one, we'll be covering skills. In case you missed it, go back and watch the first episode where I actually learned from Joseph, our CBTO, what an AI receptionist is and what it can do. In this one, it's time to get down to business and to actually start building something. We're going to be covering skills in this episode, and I was not going to do that on my own, so I enlisted one of our product managers, Nazari. He's going to be guiding me through the whole setup process, including explaining what skills are, why they're so important, and why your agent needs them to actually work. So let's get to it. Thank you so much, Nazari, for joining. I invited Nazari here today, who's one of our product managers here at CloudTalk, to basically guide me through and help me understand the basics that I need to know about setting up an AI receptionist. So what I did here was create an imaginary scenario for an HVAC company. They're a home service company that provides services like plumbing, air conditioning, repairs, etc. And I also put here what I want the receptionist to do, how I want them to react if the caller says, I have strange noises in my AC, or I have a leak in my kitchen, and what I want the receptionist to do. Then I know that we need to have a knowledge base. So I also put together that basic knowledge base. And I know there might be some things missing. There might be some things that we don't need to have here, but we'll cover that when we get there. And also what I want the receptionist to do, aside from answering some basic questions, what happens if the caller says that there's an emergency, or if they request for a specific quote, or if they want to schedule a service. First things first, is this enough for a basic receptionist?
First of all, I think this is great that you already have some kind of documentation prepared, because training the voice agent receptionist is the same as training a normal receptionist. You have to have some documentation prepared. You have to know what do you want from the person and the role to do. If you have complicated or contradictory instructions, then voice agent, same as human agent, will not know how exactly to react to certain scenarios. And from what I have seen so far, it looks like a pretty good documentation to get us started. So we can start with this and see where do we get stuck and see how it goes. So when you open CloudTalk, usually you will end up on dashboard. Here on the left side, you can find voice agents and go to agents in the navigation here. And you will see the button to create a new voice agent. Once you click on it, you're facing the first decision you have to make. And that's probably the only one that is not reversible. You're either creating a receptionist or a custom voice agent. The simplest way to kind of distinguish between the two is if the goal of the voice agent that you're preparing is to answer calls, take messages, most probably you will be totally fine with this. The receptionist has a predefined goal to be a receptionist and do certain things. The custom voice agent is a free form, and you will have to invest a little bit more time into prompting what is the goal of that voice agent. We are basically taking care of this for you because prompting is more art than science, at least so far. I will select the receptionist. You will not see this goal section because the receptionist already knows what is its goal.
Okay, so this is basically showing me what Joseph explained to me in the first session. He explained the difference between the two types of voice agents. It's very easy and straightforward. You just see it immediately.
We will give our voice agent a name, and this is going to be an internal name. We can call it Apex Home Services Receptionist. We will speak English, even though you can select multiple languages. So the next field is greeting. One thing that is important to mention here, the greeting is special comparing to other parts of the prompts and skills and scenarios we will use later on, because the greeting will be said as is. So you have to type the greeting here verbatim because voice agent will say it as you write it here.
Basically, what you're saying is that if I wrote this and that, I would call this company and someone would answer the phone saying this and that.
Exactly.
In this case, it would be something like, hi, thank you for calling Apex Home Services. How can I help you today?
That's pretty good. So let's go to next step. So here we can select the skills.
Skills are a very, very important part of the AI receptionist, correct?
Correct. This is the part that helps the agent to achieve the goal, gives them tools to get there.
Would it be possible to put one together without the skills?
By selecting a receptionist, you already have two skills added by default. You cannot really remove them because they are the core of the receptionist, and these skills are taking a message and extracting some information from the call. So while Technically, you could somehow get to that point. There is really no reason to have a receptionist that cannot do anything, right?
Okay. And why are those two the most important skills that we need to have?
We have a pretty good overview of what receptionists are doing. We had voice agents before, so we could take a look at what usually is asked from the receptionist, and taking a message is a table stakes skill that every voice agent should be able to do and pass it on to the team by extracting that message from the call and getting it somewhere.
So let's go into our first skill, take a message.
Yes. So it teaches voice agent to write down a message or inquiry or request and also collect caller details. This means phone number and a name. The only thing that you can configure here is how to respond after you took a message, because this is the variable part usually, because you want voice agent to respond differently. Sometimes you may want to ask for a follow-up or more information. So in this particular case, we're just ending the conversation after taking a message and letting them know that the message is written down and we will follow up with them soon.
How does the receptionist know that it's supposed to take a message instead of doing any of the other things?
It really depends on what other skills actually you do have there. So in this particular case, it's quite simple. Voice agent knows that whatever you will be asking of it, it won't be able to respond because there are no other skills. So for example, if you ask the AC is broke or AC is on fire, what can I do about it? My response with this setup would be, I cannot help you with this. However, I can take a message and pass it to the team because you're not giving me any other skills, any other tools to resolve that inquiry.
Do you have to write, can you please tell me your name or something? Or does the agent already knows that it has to ask those questions?
Yes, it already knows. It's a receptionist. So by having this skill here, it already knows that the name will be used to follow up. The message will be used to follow up.
Then extract information. Let's move on to that one.
With extract information, this is where you have a little bit more flexibility in terms of what kind of information you want to be extracted. And this skill is a very special skill. I will first explain how to use it in a very basic setup. So if I go to edit here, you will see that, for example, right now, there is one more thing preset and it's a call summary. It will be saved as a text. And the instructions for the AI are the following. Summarize the key points of the call into 1 or 2 sentences. You may want to change this to something HVAC specific. It can be summarize the urgency of the call. Is it a repair or it's an inquiry about the new unit? So you can do this either here or just add more properties. Important thing also to know here is that it doesn't say that explicitly, but by having take a message skill on, it will also extract name and the message that you have configured in the previous skill.
Where is this information stored and where or how is it shared afterwards?
This information is stored in CloudTalk. If you'll go to the dashboard on every call that voice agent has made, you will see it in the tooltip as extracted properties of that call. If you have running integrations with us, then this information will also pass through the integrations.
Okay, that's perfect. And that's actually something we'll be covering in a different module. If you want to know more about this, we're going to have an intermediate model where we will cover all of these more specific and more technical setups. And just another question, do I need to give any type of specific instructions in this part to extract information? For instance, if you want to capture the urgency of a call or something.
The caveat with this skill is that the information that you put here doesn't affect really what voice agent says. This prompts voice agent to do something after the call is over. It's really important to remember that by putting this information here, you are not really instructing voice agent to ask for it. Let's say I want to capture something specific, so urgency. I will save it as text and I want to describe it here. So whatever I will describe here, this is not going to tell voice agent to ask what is your urgency. This will be analyzed after the call is done. So we can say something like analyze the call tone and identify urgency as one of the following 3 parameters. I think actually you have something like that in this scenario. Burst water heater indoor flooding. So let's take all of this. This is going to be emergency symptoms. I'll go ahead and save this.
Okay, so now that we have this, we can move on to the other skills.